Hey, F5 community, Aubrey here, and today I'm sitting down with Darmin Dorana from F5's Security Incident Response Team, or CERT, and he's going to show me, and then I will show you by proxy, the power of IP intelligence and what it brings to our customers. First, how are you doing this morning? I shouldn't say this morning. It's this evening for you out of Singapore. How are you doing today, Darminder?
Yeah, the day was great for me. I believe it will be great for you as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm glad. If your day was good, maybe you're pushing, good vibes to me as the world turns. So I appreciate that. So I understand that IP intelligence is pretty useful for you guys in CERT, and I would imagine it would stop quite a few things. I guess I'll kind of kick it over to you and let you wax poetic on IP intelligence.
Sure. Thank you. So today I'll be discussing about IPA, right, which is IP intelligence. And as you mentioned that I'm part of F5 CERT, so one of the important tasks of F5 CERT is help customer under attack. And I was thinking, like, why not use that experience and share something important or something powerful with everyone, which is easy to implement and really, really powerful. So with that, IPA came into my mind. And so this feature, right, IPA is a security feature, and usually everyone thinks that this can be used only with big IP security modules such as AFM, Advanced WAF, ASM, or APM, etc. Right? But actually, it's not true. So I thought I'll share something more that it can be implemented with big IP LTM as well. So.
As a quick note, I was just going to say, when I was a solutions engineer, I had a single global service provider that used IP intelligence on their, they were GTMs back then. Now they're F5 DNS today, but boy, yeah, it was really impactful for them.
Okay, so let's find out what is IP intelligence. It is a subscription-based add-on license. It is a database of malicious IP addresses, and IP addresses in the database is categorized in 12 different categories, such as Windows exploit, web attacks, botnet, etc. Once you find out the category of an IP address, maybe you can take necessary action. And the whole database is not managed by F5. It is managed by a third party called Bright Cloud. And before going to the benefits of IPI and how we can implement it, let's quickly find out what we have seen in the wild. We have seen that when attackers perform various types of attack, they do use IP addresses which are known to be malicious by IP intelligence. And there are some scenarios where attackers want to do reconnaissance, or maybe they just want to blindly scan applications or systems on the internet to find out if they are vulnerable to a certain vulnerabilities or not. In those scenarios, they don't want to raise any alarm. So instead of sending huge number of requests, they send smaller number of requests, which usually gets unnoticed and untracked. Right. Other thing which we have seen that not many customer knows that IPA can be used with big IP LTM as well. Yeah. So let's quickly find out the benefits of IPA. It's really, really easy to implement. Once it's implemented, you don't have to do anything. It will automatically blocks all the malicious IP addresses. You don't have to update the database, so no need to spend time on that. It gets updated automatically every 5 minutes. So as I mentioned, like, no manual intervention is required. You can spend your time on other stuff. Other thing which I've mentioned in the previous slides, that attackers do reconnaissance activity and they send a comparatively smaller number of requests, but it doesn't mean like it doesn't consume the resources on systems or application or consume bandwidth, right? It still uses that. But if you have IPA, those requests will be blocked at the very first request, and it will free up the resources for legitimate requests. Yeah. So let's quickly find out how we can implement IPA on big IP LTM. There are some prerequisites for that. You should have IPA license, a user with admin privileges. Big IP should have outbound internet connectivity, and in case your big IP is standalone, you should have downtime. And in case it's in HA, then you can do one at a time to avoid the downtime. Coming to the implementation steps, I have divided into 5 different steps, starting from activating license, followed by verifying IPA, configuring iRule, attaching it to the virtual server, and finally checking logs. So let's quickly find out the ways to activate license. There are 2 different ways to activate license using GUI. One is automatic way, other one is the manual way. The steps are pretty straightforward. You have to log into the Big IP GUI, go to Systems, License, reactivate, click on Reactivate, paste the add-on registration key which you have, select Automatic, and as soon as you click Next, the Big IP system will connect to the licensing server to download the license. Once it downloads the license, all the services on the system will be restarted. So you have to make sure that at this point of time, either you should have a downtime, or otherwise all your services running on the Big IP will be down. Now let's talk about the manual activation method. You have some extra steps here. But for that also you have to log into the Big IP GUI, go to Systems, License, select Reactivate, paste the add-on registration key there, select Manual, select Next. It will generate a dossier for you. Copy that, go to the website called secure.f5.com, then click Activate F5 product registration. You need to paste the dossier key there. Once you paste it there, it will generate a license for you. You can copy that license, paste it back on the Big IP GUI, and click Next. At this point of time, again, all the services will be restarted, and once it's done, you will have new license. So we are done with the licensing part. So let's find out if IPA is working as expected. So for that, you have to log into the CLI of Big IP and run this command tmsh shows sys IP rep-status. If everything is working as expected, you will see an output similar to what I've mentioned in the slide. You will find out when was the last time server was contacted for updates, when was the last time it received update, how many IP addresses are there in the database, and in the last update, how many malicious IP addresses information was received. So this database updates automatically every 5 minutes, but just in case you want to update, you want to change the value of interval, you can change it, and the value varies anything between 1 minute to 1 year. That's totally depends upon your requirement, what value you want to keep it there. So everything is working fine. Just in case you don't see any output there, it means maybe there is some problem with the internet connectivity, or your license is not activated properly. And if everything is fine, you will see such output, and then you can quickly find out the reputation of any IP address. So let's find out. You can run the command iprep_lookup followed by the IP address. If the IP address is malicious, you will see the output similar to what I have shown in left side of the slide. And in case there is the IP address is not malicious, you will see the output similar to the right side of the slide. So we have activated the license, verified the IPI. Let's quickly find out how we can create the iRule and attach it to the virtual server. So you can see there are 2 iRules here on the slides. One, so both the iRules are checking the IP address, and if that IP address is malicious, the request will get dropped, and obviously it will log the request as well with some of the information. Now the only difference in these 2 slides are the second iRule iRule will check the IP address based on the XFF header, and it will check. It can also check multiple XFF headers, and if the value of the IP address in the XFF header is malicious, then it will block the request. Otherwise, it will just permit the request.
So that would mean that the one on the left would be for a routed environment. The one on the right would be for a snatted environment. Is that?
No. It's not like that. So the one on the left side will check on the layer 3, right? One on the right side will check on the layer 7. So for that, it has to check on the HTTP layer. Yeah, so the header is inside the HTTP request, and there only it will check whether that particular XFF header, whether it matches with the malicious IP database or not. You can have multiple IP address in XFF header, right? So that's the reason you can see in the iRule that we are checking all the IP address one by one. And if, for example, it has 4 IP address and even single IP address is malicious, it will block the request.
I see the for each now. Yeah, that's
Yes.
cool. I've never seen that multiple IP addresses in an X forwarded for header. That's really cool.
Yeah, because attackers sometimes they play with that, right? So they put 2 IP address which are not malicious and 1 IP address malicious.
Cool. Thank you for the clarification.
No problem. Okay, so let's find out how we can create the iRule. For that, you have to log into the Big IP GUI, then go to local traffic iRules, then press create button, then just give the name as per your requirement and copy paste the iRule, whichever is most appropriate for you. Click finish, and yes, we have the iRule now. So let's find out how we can attach to the virtual server. For that, you have to be on Big IP GUI. Click on local traffic, go to the virtual server where you want to attach this iRule. Then on the resource tab, okay, go to the resource tab, click on manage under iRule section, and then apply the iRule. Okay, so we are almost done. Okay, everything is in place, so it's time to find out the logs. To check the logs, you have 2 options, GUI as well as CLI. In case you want to check the logs using GUI, you have to go to system, logs, and local traffic. And in case you want to check the logs using command line, then you have to check the file which is varlog LTM file. Okay, so let's do a live action and see like how all the implementation steps will work. So let me quickly show you how we can activate license. So you can see that I have already logged in. Then after that, you have to go to system, license, and just click on reactivate. As I mentioned before, we have 2 options, automatic and manual. So for example, you have this particular add-on key. You have to add it here, click add, and then you have to click next. I'm not going to press next, otherwise it will restart all my services and I won't be able to show the other method, which is manual. So yeah, so the steps will remain same. And for manual, you have to select manual, add on key, then click next. So you will see a dossier here. You can copy this dossier. Okay, then you have to open secure.f5.com website. Click on activate F5 product registration key. Then paste the dossier here and then click next. So I have already generated the license. So let me quickly copy it.
And then it takes 2 seconds for the licensing server to send you that license, I think.
No, it generates real time, and you can download or you can copy it like that. Make sure that there is no space, because you can see that I have copied space. So just keep it like this, otherwise it will create problem. And then next, click next. So as soon as you click next, you can see I have lost the control. So it means it's restarting all the services, and if you have any production traffic at this moment, it will impact it. So these are the steps to activate license. Let's quickly find out how to check if the IP is working as expected.
So to avoid any sort of outage or issue like that, do you guys typically recommend that people would start on the backup unit, and then so they would start on the unit that's secondary, and then
yes,
once it's done, you're gonna just start on the primary unit. It fails over to the secondary, and there you go.
Yes. So ideally, right, if the big IPs are on HA, then you have to do these steps on the standby unit first, so that there is no interruption, nothing. But obviously, like as a best practice, right, you should have the backup of all the units first before doing any such activities. Yeah. So do it on standby first. Everything is fine. Test it. Make it active. Test the production traffic. Everything is fine. Then do it on the other unit by making it standby.
So it wouldn't be me without mentioning ECMP. So if you're doing this in an ECMP cluster, of course, you're going to want to remove the box that you're upgrading from your ECMP cluster as you do it, and
That's
manually put it back in.
Yeah.
I'm on an ECMP crusade, so sorry.
Okay.
I had to put that in there.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Sorry.
Okay. So let's find out how we can. So you can see the unit is back up. Okay, so we have the new license, and you can see the IP Intelligence licenses here. So let me show you the CLI now and see how we can check the status. So let's quickly check. Okay, so we can see that we got the output here, and as I mentioned previously, that you can get the information such as when was the last time server was contacted for update. You can see it's today's date, 30th of August, and the last time the update was received, same. The number of IP address in the database is this much, and in the last update we have received 37 IP address. It means our IP is working as expected. And let's quickly check IP rep for some of the IP addresses. So let's find out the IP repetition of this IP address. So there is nothing, everything is clear, so no repetition. And let's find out another IP address to see in case the IP address is malicious, how the output will look like. Yeah, so this IP address is malicious, and you can see it's showing the category also. It falls under which category: Windows exploit and scanners. Yeah. And
okay, so that would mean that the IP address that came from was probably an infected Windows host that was being used as part of an attack, botnet, something like that.
Yeah, so usually this IP address, right, is sending some sort of exploits, or it's trying to scan IP addresses on the internet. That's the reason it falls under this category.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and another important thing, if you have to find out when your IPA subscription is getting expired, so for that you have to simply check the license using this command, then grep trust. So with that, you can see a value here, right? Actually, this is the date. So it's year, month, and date. So 28th September 2022 is the date when my IPA subscription is getting expired. So that's important. So I wanted to share this. And another thing which I have mentioned, that the interval of updating the database is 5 minutes by default. So if you want to check on your system, you may run this command. So this is db rep interval. So you can see the default value is 5 minutes here, right? And in case you want to change it, so modify sys db interval value, and if you just press tab after that, you will see the minimum value is 1 minute and maximum value is 525600. If you convert these to days, it becomes 365 days, which means one year. So for now, I'm not changing this value. I'll keep it as is. Okay, so we have already checked IPA is working fine as expected. So let's quickly find out how we can create iRule. So for that, let's go back to our BigIP GUI, click on local traffic, iRules, iRule list. Click on create, just give any name, maybe test demo, and then paste the iRule. Paste the iRule, click finish. So like this, you can create the iRule. Now let's find out how we can attach the iRule to the virtual server. Okay, sorry, let me go to. Okay, so for that, you can go to local traffic, virtual server. Now, for example, you want to attach iRule to this particular virtual server. Okay, you have to click on that virtual server, click on resources, then click on manage. And for example, I want to attach this demo iRule 1. Choose that, move the iRule to this side, and click finish. So this iRule is attached now. Okay. So we have attached the iRule. So let's find out how this IPA works. Okay. Let me send some traffic and show the difference. So, okay, so let's do a normal curl. Okay, so I showed you two examples of iRule, right? One was for layer 3, other one was for HTTP request, or which works on XFF header. So let's check how it works on layer 3. Okay, so this is the virtual server IP address. So let's do a simple curl. Okay, so you can see that the connection reset peer. So let's quickly check the logs and see what happened. So let's filter out the logs. So that we don't see other logs. Okay, let me generate the request few more times. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, you can see 3 times I generated request, and all 3 requests are blocked.
3 for 3.
Yes, 3 for 3. So all blocked. And in case, like, just suppose I don't have this IPA functionality, right? So let's remove this iRule. And generate the request again. See, it went through. It means even though attacker was doing malicious activity, it gets mixed up with the normal request and doesn't no one noticed that, right? So that's demo 1. Let's use the other iRule and see how it works.
This would be the layer 7.
Yes, this will be the layer 7. I have already attached the iRule here. You may see it's the same iRule which I've shown you before. Okay, so let me send some traffic.
And my customer that I talked about, since they were using it on GTM, did not use this. So
yeah, definitely, because you won't be able to use like this. So
yeah.
that will work on layer 3.
Well, unless it was DNS over HTTPS. But.
Yes. Yeah.
But we know how widespread that is right now. So it's coming, but not yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Things are evolving, right? Okay, so let's change the filter here. So this time we want to check logs only for this iRule. So let me start that, and for this, right, I've created a small script. Let me show you the script. So there is nothing fancy in that. Okay, I'm just because I have a list of IP addresses. Okay, so it will just feed up the list of IP addresses one by one and X forward for request. Apart from that, nothing fancy. It will just use everything. Okay, so let's do this. Let's send this request 50 times and see what happens. So this list is mixture of legitimate and malicious IP addresses. So you can see, yeah, see the requests got blocked, and we were logging, right? The request came from. So one thing to notice here, that the IP address, right, from layer 3 point of view, the IP address is legitimate, but from XFF point of view, the IP address is malicious. So that's the reason it was blocked.
That's great. That's really neat.
Yeah. So sometimes attackers they try to be fancy, right? So They use IP address on layer 3, which is not malicious, but inside that they hide some of the information and try to do malicious activity. Yeah, so so we are able to see the logs, and similar way, if you want to see the logs in the GUI, you have to go to Systems, Logs, click Local Traffic, and just put the filter here, search, and you may see similar logs here. So you can check the logs from GUI as well as CLI, both way.
Awesome. That's great.
Yep. So with this, I think more or less we are done. But before wrapping up, I want to highlight a few of the important information here again, which I've already shared, which are like F5 does not maintain the database of malicious IP addresses. It is managed by a third party called Bright Cloud. So in case customer has any change request, they have to contact them directly using the links which I've shared here. Other thing is the interval of database updation is 5 minutes, but we can change it anything between 1 minute to 1 year. And in case you want to find out information on managing IP reputation and how you can check the expiry date of subscription, IP Intelligence subscription, then and also activating license, then you may see the links which I've mentioned here. With this, I've shared all the information. So in case you have any more question, please.
That's awesome. I appreciate the time today, Darminder. And I'm sure if there are questions on this, we will get them out on DevCentral at community.f5.com.
Definitely. I'll be happy to answer there.
Thank you, community. Have a great F5 day.